and gentlemen, welcome to Walking with J.Beau. It's been 2 days since I've walked because of the weather you're looking at. We had 6 inches of snow yesterday. Kind of a surprising amount because the original forecast said 1 to 3 inches. Basically means nothing. But it just kept snowing. And they changed it to 3 to 6 inches yesterday morning. And it snowed all day. Before that, we had very cold weather with high winds, so I didn't walk. And today I'm walking with a pinched nerve in my neck, so I have difficulty lifting my head up straight. But we will be okay. So last year, right about this time, we had a blizzard, 3 times the amount of snow we got yesterday. So I guess this is better. 6 inches is better than 18. And about a week after that, last year, we had another blizzard. And I hope that doesn't happen this year. So, there's a lot of sidewalks I don't have today. Some I will. But because it's 45 degrees today, a lot of the snow is already shrinking. So I'm going to take a route today that is safe to walk on streets. Because that stuff right there to your left on the sidewalk that hasn't been cleaned is like walking in mud. Because it's all wet snow. So we'll walk on the side of the road and pay attention to traffic. Hope everybody's having a lovely week. Sincerely hope that. I want to thank new people that have been watching. Very much appreciated. Now the good news is my back will probably feel okay today. And if you're new to the channel, right around 2005, it was actually while Hurricane Katrina was going on, I actually injured my back after raking up a ton of wet pine needles on the property I put that trash bag over my shoulder and I felt my disc give out almost immediately. Unfortunately, because it has been a problem ever since. I can get by with everyday things just fine. Working is fine. Although that is a challenge also. But after a while you get used to having pain and you just kind of get used to it, because really you have to. So mentally and physically you get past the frustration of it, because that's just the way it is. I do not trust back surgeries. I've seen too many horror stories. Some successes, but not so much, and I don't want new problems. Plus, it's been probably too long. Anyway, that is Thorn Craig across the street, where we do the Woods Walk Gun Talk series, which as soon as spring gets here and we have some nice weather and the leaves start coming out, we will be headed out that way into the woods, across that big field. I have no idea why this person is backing up for no reason. Put their hazard lights on. Maybe they're having car trouble. It's probably the case, because they were pulling into there and they stopped. Anyway, we're gonna walk, probably do 6 miles today. I'm starting to sweat already. I'm dressed for it being a little more cold than it is. Today is 45 degrees. There's really no in between. If I take off the hoodie, I'll start being chilly. If I leave it on, I'll start being warm. So I'd rather be warm than cold. This part right here looks really nice in the fall. It looks nice in the summer, and it looks pretty nice in the winter too. I hope you enjoyed the back roads walk last time out, where my back was not cooperating. Don't know what this is here. They get a stake pounded in, and they get some spray paint on the snow. So I have no idea what happened, but it looks like they had a back wheel or front wheel that was in there. So I don't know what this is about. Maybe they're marking where they're going to cut this tree out, maybe. No idea. Never seen that here before. Anyway, somewhere up ahead here, I'll flip the camera around for a selfie view. I gotta watch the traffic. Safety first, folks. When I'm walking like this, I'm looking way up ahead. See that car that just showed up? That's what you look for. And then you look to see if they notice you. And you can always tell if they notice you or not. But we do have a nice day today for walking. The only thing that would make it better is if the sun would come back out like it was. Never fails, you know. The sun comes out nice and beautiful. Then J.Beau is going to go for a walk. Well, here come the clouds. So we got some things going on with the courts and President Trump. Besides all the injunctions, Republicans are formulating some sort of response bill to either make it impossible for one district judge in D.C. to dictate what the president can do for the entire country, because they weren't elected, for one thing. And they're not the president. And so we do have a separation of powers, and the judicial should not be interfered with. I agree with that. But the Supreme Court has a Supreme Justice. He's responsible for the judicial system. That would be John Roberts. Notorious. I'm not even sure if he classifies as being an anti-Trumper. He tries to play neutral and doesn't do what he should. He's soft, okay? He knows what the judicial branch is doing is wrong, but he's not going to do anything about it. So, that could only mean one thing. Congress is going to have to do something, because that's the only thing that can be done that the Supreme Court and the lower courts would have to abide by, because they are a branch, a co and equal branch, but they cannot make another branch do what they want any more than Trump can force these judges to stop doing this. So they can stop him, but he can't stop them. And that's why it's a problem, because, you know, the real problem is they're shopping around. We'll flip the camera around. Hi, everybody. Like I said, I have a pinched nerve, so I'm not going to do a lot of looking up. So I'll just look at you guys. So, the real problem with the judicial is these lawyers and people, prosecutors, filing injunctions, attorney generals, I mean, are shopping around. And what do I mean by that is they are going to judges they know that hate Trump, so they'll be most likely to succeed. And they have been succeeding because of that. And it's not fair people are getting angry, and these judges are about to have their own asses handed to them by Congress, because the Republicans have Congress and the Senate, and the Republicans are not going to come up with some outrageous bill limiting the third branch. What they're going to do, from what I read, is they are going to come up with legislation mandating that you either have to rotate judges and not pick them, which would be luck of the draw, which in DC 90% of them hate Trump, so that probably won't solve anything. And the other part is that you have a commission of judges, kind of like a mini Supreme Court. It would be a judicial committee to examine President Trump's actions, and they would be judges that are expert in the Constitution and the powers that a president has. And by making it a 3 or 5 person commission, you're taking that power away from activist AGs and activist judges. So they would be judges of a higher court also. So they wouldn't be local district court judges, who are the bottom of the barrel in judges. Federal judges are a little different, but you also have an appellate court. So I think a lot of the decisions dealing with presidents and the entire country and people that they voted for, people voted for, is to have a committee or commission, like a special court just for the president, but not a packed court so the president gets everything he wants all the time. There has to be a happy medium, because we can't have activists doing this stuff. Now, the Republicans did it to Biden 14 times. They have already done it 70 times to Trump already, and that's climbing. Every little thing he does, there's going to be an injunction. This is their tactic to defeat Trump, which it won't, but it can severely delay his agenda, which has to be on track specifically for the economy. And I have a feeling that's why he was announcing just before this weekend that some of the tariffs are going to be modified, because you can't throw all these tariffs off if you still have all this government waste, because you couldn't fire people. So they're gumming up the works. Now they're going to make the news cycle look like Trump is walking back his threats of tariffs, which he's not. He just has to modify them and be more selective. Be interesting to see what happens April 2nd, because that was supposed to be the day, and I think it's still going to happen, that all countries in the world will have reciprocal tariffs. So the Democrats need to be careful, because they could end up destroying the economy with a depression, and they're going to blame Trump for it, but they don't have a media anymore to promote that. So, and they don't. The Democrats no longer have the media, and the Democratic Party is in shambles. It's even worse than people thought it was. I'm shocked. I'm happy to see it. The approval rating that just came out for Democrats from voters is the lowest that the Democratic Party has ever gotten since being a party. So they are rock bottom, literally. And they're digging themselves deeper. they're digging themselves a deeper hole. Representative Crockett from New Hampshire, Texas, I mean, running her mouth again at a equal rights LGBT thingamajigger in Texas, and she made jokes about the governor being in a wheelchair. She should be censured for that, and I hope the Republicans do that. Because can you imagine what would happen if any Republican or Trump made fun of somebody in a wheelchair? And I'm speaking about Governor Abbott of Texas. The guy's in a wheelchair. Why are you making that the point of your insult? President Trump got accused of making fun of a disabled reporter, and it was the news cycle for years, and there's still some stupid people that actually believe he did that. Not a peep from the media or other Democrats condemning what Crockett said yesterday, and the Republicans are having a field day with it, as they should. Because it's obvious what happened, and the hypocrisy now that goes the other way too. I don't like some of the rhetoric MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, for the Republicans. I think she's a big mouth. And, you know, there's a lot of Republicans that don't have as much money as Democrats. And a lot of it has to do with a lot of the donors just simply not having as much money. Which is, you know, good. That's good. That's what we want. But at the same time, it prompts these people to be controversial and stand on a soapbox for fundraising, because they take the video clip of their antics, post it on social media, and underneath it they post a link to donate. So I'm talking about Representative Massey from Tennessee. There's another one. These soapboxes, grandstands. And that doesn't help anybody. And there's a ton of Democrats that do it. And there's some Republicans. More Democrats than Republicans do that stuff. But the country should come first, regardless. And, you know, the other thing is it's pretty sad when AOC and Bernie Sanders become the face of the Democratic Party, drawing the crowds. Now, I'm going to tell you, a lot of the crowds for AOC is the same thing they did with Kamala. A lot of people are there legitimately. I'm not going to take that away, but it's also astroturfed. And that means that these .org organizations organize, and they go pick people up in buses, and they bus them to the event to have a bigger crowd, to make it look like they're more effective. Now here's the problem with that. The Democratic Party absolutely does not want AOC or Bernie Sanders anywhere near taking over the party. So they are having an internal war with the establishment. And I saw Bernie Sanders get mad at an ABC reporter. I forget his name. John Carl. Carl, the biased for the Democrats idiot, asked Bernie Sanders a question. Didn't frame it the way Bernie liked. Bernie got upset, cut the interview off short, and he walked out. So You know, basically the question was about AOC being the head of the Democratic Party. Like, really? It was toned kind of like that. So he got up and walked out. So Bernie's still mad at the establishment, and they want the Democratic Party to be progressive, far left extremist, the same thing that destroyed it. And I am all for it. Please, God, please make AOC the presidential candidate for 2028, which is what it looks like she's aiming for. Because the Democrat voters like her. She speaks well to them, directly to them, because she used to be poor and appreciated things. So, you know, she probably believes a lot of the bullshit that she spreads. Unrealistic stuff like everybody should have health care. It's a God-given right for everybody. And you should get taxed at 40 to 50% to pay for it, like in Canada. Then you mention that to a Canadian, and they're like, oh no, the poorest people don't pay taxes for that. Under $28,000 a year, you don't have to pay taxes. Okay, well, if you make more than that, how much tax do you have to pay? You have to pay for their tax they're not paying. Somebody's paying the taxes. So they lose all common sense like that. And it sounds good when they say it. I mean, who the hell would not want free health care, right? Well, now when you get into socialized medicine, what happens is you lose the good doctors because they're not going to get paid as much. They go into private practice or they specialize in something. So working at a hospital, you get a pay cut. And a lot of people think, you know, these young new doctors are making tons of money. Nah, they make about $250,000 a year. You know, that's good, but it's not the amount of money you would think. Plastic surgeons can make millions a year, 2-3 million. People that specialize treating cancer make a lot of money. But that's more education, a special skill set, high-risk surgeries. They pay a lot for malpractice insurance. It's not cheap. So when you make $250,000 a year, your practice has to have malpractice insurance, which is very expensive because there's a lot of malpractice lawsuits. And they have to pay taxes. So that $250,000 a year shrinks pretty quickly, especially when you're trying to pay for 2 kids to go to college. So doctors aren't made out of money. And that's really the problem, because when you get socialized medicine, you're going from having your best doctors, put it in the way of baseball, ice hockey, whatever, where all of a sudden you take the stars off your team and you're calling up minor leaguers. So that's what a lot of these doctors are in places like Maine, where they have very not very attractive job offers for doctors or healthcare workers. Since Janet Mills in Maine has forced people to do things like get vaccinated and all this other stuff, and people don't feel safe with their job here, and they shouldn't. So they left for New Hampshire, where it's much better, and Maine's going to suffer for it. So, speaking of Maine and Janet Mills and the Democrats here, they did something very sneaky this past week. They rammed through a budget using obscure procedural means And they passed the budget without needing a single Republican vote to pass it. They threw it out there really fast. They didn't give anybody any floor time to debate the budget. They just threw it out there and voted for it. And now we have the largest budget the state of Maine has ever seen. It's over 11 billion, up from 8.6 billion. It's almost doubled. How are they going to pay for it? They just raised taxes on marijuana, liquor, cigarettes. They're going to have to raise sales tax, which is already one of the highest in the country. And they just raised income tax, Maine income tax, 1% in January. So this is all very bad. And the reason why they did a weird procedural things is because they lost seats in the election. Because the people in Maine are getting tired of Democrats and their shenanigans, so they went ahead and did some more shenanigans. And it's going to cost everybody a lot of money. They're out of control. Last year, towards the end of the legislative session, they tried to ram through a whole bunch of stuff last minute through procedural means on the last day they were in session to try to hoodwink Republicans, because these bills thrown forth at the last minute, it was like 6 of them, weren't even supposed to be on the docket for that day. It was supposed to be the last day. Some Republicans left, some Democrats left for the day, and they secretly knew that they were going to be voting on those, so a lot of the Democrats hung around and they voted for it. But it would have had to have been signed by the governor before she left for the session. And she ended up locking the doors to the Blaine house because she knew what they were doing, and she refused to sign what they passed, so they never became law. And she scolded them for it privately. Publicly, she issued a letter, which the media did publish, stating that the Democrats exceeded our norms and procedures in the legislature, and they need to stop doing that because she's not going to sign it. Well, I'm sure she's going to sign the budget that just got rammed through, because as a governor, she needs that. Especially given the Title IX case with Trump, and they didn't walk back on it. And it looks like Maine's going to lose $250 million, which we need. Where's a billion? I don't even remember now. Whatever it is, Maine's going to be hurting. I think it's a million. Anyway, somebody's going to have to pay for the school budgets, which a lot of that money comes from. We just got our property tax increased because of school budgets and city budget problems. It had to be voted on by citizens 3 times before the proposal was accepted. And all of the proposals ended up raising property tax. So they're going to make their money somehow, and it's going to be from citizens, and people are going to be pissed. And the Democrats, I'm predicting, are going to get voted out in the next election, a lot of them, just like they did in the last one, because they never learn. These idiots and morons never learn. So anyway, kudos to Janet Mills for not signing those bills on her way out last year. She also vetoed 2 of the anti-gun measures because Mainers like their guns, which, by the way, I submitted my emails to representatives having to do with the gun magazine bill that is going into committee. There'll be public hearings on it tomorrow, which is where my emails went, and people can participate with a Zoom call. I didn't get myself in line for that because it was booked up very quickly. A lot of people are not happy with it. They want to ban magazine capacities to just 10 rounds, regardless of firearm that you own. So I have a feeling that's not going to come out of committee, but I have said things like that before. I don't know who's running this committee, and if I had to guess, it's going to be a crooked Democrat with an agenda, and they may force things through to end up getting voted for on the floor, but we'll see. A lot of Democrats own firearms in Maine, and they do not want magazine capacity limits. They don't. The first problem is glaringly obvious, which obviously they don't care, or they just don't understand because they don't own firearms, is that if you have a 30-round magazine that you paid anywhere from $30 to $60 for, and they turn around and say you can only have a 10-round magazine, and the one you have to either modify it or get rid of it, because if you don't, then you will be charged with a Class D crime, is what the bill says. There's no retro in there for, like, if you have them already, God bless you, keep them. Their logic is that if you force people to turn them in, everybody's going to comply with it, because they don't want these magazines to end up in the hands of criminals. The stupidity from these people is astounding. There is 60 billion, I think it's 6 billion, I could be wrong on the number, but it was a really extremely high number like that nationally, of high capacity magazines that are out there. If somebody wants one, they can get one. So this is just another regulation of Democrats always having to be proactive towards disarming citizens and stealing our Second Amendment rights, which they always try to say they're not stealing them. You can still shoot your gun, but you can only put 10 bullets in it. And I've used the analogy for Ireland for a long time. In Ireland, you can have a firearm, but they banned firearms. But you can still have one. You have to register it with the government. You have to pay a tax. You have to get a license. You have to get a permit. You have to take a psychological course. You have to take a safety course. You have to take a first aid course. You have to go to a shooting range and be inspected by somebody that knows what they're doing. Here's the kicker. You're limited to an over-under double-barrel shotgun. And you can only shoot it at a range where there's trap shooting to shoot skeet and whatnot. So yeah, you can have a firearm, but you're not really allowed to use it. Unless, and in certain places, and you paid a lot of money to be able to shoot it. That's their idea of, you still have gun rights. New York says you still have your gun rights, but you can't leave your house with your firearm, which ended up losing in the Supreme Court, by the way. You can't bring your own ammo out of your house. You can't keep ammunition in a car. If you have your firearm in a car, you have to have it locked in a case, and it has to be in the trunk. And there cannot be ammunition in the vehicle. So that means when you go to a range, you have to buy the ammunition at the range, and the range knows this. And because they are heavily taxed by the Democrats to try to bankrupt the ranges, you end up getting charged $30, $40 for a $10 box of 9mm ammo to shoot while you're there, because you can't bring your own. You can't mail order ammo. When you buy ammo, you have to use an FFL, Federal Firearms Licensed Gun Shop. You have to pay a fee. They do everything possible to make you not want to shoot. And that violates your rights. And the Supreme Court has been saying that. Now, there are 2 assault rifle bans that people petitioned the Supreme Court out of Illinois, California, and New York. The Supreme Court didn't take it up, because the Supreme Court, what they do is they wait until it becomes a national problem issue, which it is in many states, and then they will take it up, which I suspect they're going to do during Trump's presidency. And so the anti-gun people have suffered a bunch of losses lately. I anticipate that to continue, because it is a violation of our constitutional rights. And you also have a right in this country not to own one if you don't like them. Nobody says you have to own one. But I've used this analogy many times. During 2020, we had national rioting across the country. Cities got burned, people were murdered, people lost their businesses. And not for 1 second did anybody that had any rationale of being sane at all ever said, we need to issue permits to protest, because violence can happen. That is a First Amendment right. Right to protest without a permit. Second Amendment is a constitutional right to bear arms, presumably without a permit. But it doesn't say that, and the free speech one in the First Amendment doesn't say that either, but it's a given because it's free speech. Oh, well, you don't need a permit, you just show up and protest. Stand on a street corner with a bullhorn and have at it. So, nobody said, you know, for the safety of the country, you need to have a permit to organize a protest. You have to demonstrate why you're protesting, and if it's, which means basically if it's something controversial, you won't get the permit. You know, I did a lot of protesting against the COVID lockdown here in Maine. I went to Augusta with a USA flag and a bullhorn, and because that's our right to do that. If they ever required a permit to protest, I would have been arrested for illegally assembling, which is what we see in Turkey and places like that. So now I'm going to talk about Turkey, since I just brought it up. There's a lot of rioting going on in Turkey. A lot of Americans don't understand why or what's going on, because the media is really not paying attention to it. President Erdogan, who has managed to stay in power there for many years, who controversially had issues with the last president that was there. You can research that, years ago. Who now, his leading political rival was a mayor, I believe, of Istanbul, who's going to be running for the president of Turkey in 2028. 3 years from now. So, what did President Erdogan do? Well, he called his cronies, and now they are lawfaring his chief political opponent. They arrested him, charged him with corruption and other crimes, and his supporters are out in the streets rioting, which they should be, because this is obviously what they tried to do to Trump here. So this does not shine a good light on Democrats, which is the reason why I think the media is really not covering it, because that's what they did to Trump. I've got no proof of that, but you know, that's the way they roll. They're trying to support the Democrats. So it would stand to reason that's exactly what they did to Trump. So they're going after this former mayor of Istanbul. They're going after his financing, his accounts. They're going after the people funding him. They're going after his supporters. Now, not only did they arrest him and charge him with those crimes, they took away his college degree he has had for 35 years. Why is that significant? Well, according to the Constitution of Turkey, a leader of the country cannot be a leader unless they are a college graduate with a degree. So Erdogan had the school cancel his degree. Just nullified it, had it annulled. So now he has to go to court to get it back, which a lot of people are predicting he will, because he had it for 35 years. And until now, it was fine with everybody. Until now, he was favored to win the presidency, with Erdogan's popularity in the toilet with the citizens of Turkey, namely because of the economy. During COVID, while the rest of the world experienced inflation and they raised interest rates so they would not get into a collapse, Erdogan in Turkey refused to do that. In fact, he did the opposite. He actually cut interest rates. That was his own decision. A stupid one. And now the inflation rate in Turkey is outrageous. The Turkish, I think it's a lira, their monetary amount is collapsing. People can't afford to buy anything, they're angry, and now he's locking up their only hope to solve their problems. So that's why people are rioting in Turkey. If you were wondering. Since the media is not talking about it. Because then they would have to admit that that's what happened to Trump. And the Democrats are that much of a bucket of shit. Excuse my French. So anyway, this walk's going pretty good. I feel spry today. Some days are better than others. Today's pretty good. Did not enjoy going out last night after it stopped snowing to clean up the snow. You know, a lot of people are like, I'm not even gonna bother, I'll just leave it there. Well, if it was only 3 inches, maybe 4 inches, yeah, okay. But this was 6 inches. It was obvious. You know, you have a heart attack or some kind of medical issue and you gotta get to the hospital, you know, you gotta have your driveway cleaned. So I cleaned it. I used a snow machine. I was not as tidy as I usually am with it. And sure enough, by the end of the afternoon today, most of whatever was in the driveway looked like this. Melted. So, all is well with the world. So now we had this supposed chat leak you've probably heard about by now, because you know the mainstream media thinks they found a nugget, an anti-Trump nugget, where some classified information was being discussed on a public chat app called Signal, with the Vice President, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and the Director of National Intelligence and CIA talking about the military strike coming up on the Houthis. That was reported by a reporter from the Atlantic that absolutely hates Trump with a passion. He claims he was added to this chat by accident and got these texts and didn't think they were real, so he ignored them. Now, to me, somebody that works for the Atlantic, who takes any little thing they get and anonymously source it as news, really would not care and would have run with it anyway. So there's something goofy with that story. So, right? So they have, I guess it's been verified that it was them in the chat, but still trying to get more on that story. But it may just have been a mistake that was made, or it may be completely made up by the reporter. So I don't have an answer yet. Sure, we'll find out more. The media is sure making a big story out of it. And it doesn't have anything to do with Trump. But they're trying to frame it as, see, this is what you voted for, idiots. They're trying to make it look like that. You know, coming from the same party that killed 13 Marines in Afghanistan because they half-assed a withdrawal. Nobody was ever held accountable for that. Nobody was fired. So anyway, basically any kind of conversations like that the Vice President and Secretary of Defense has about military operations is it has to be on a classified, protected server. And you know the Democrats with their what about on everything. What about Hillary's server? Her private server was an issue in her bathroom with Republicans. But now all of a sudden it isn't because of this. So I'm so tired of these people. It's really unbelievable. Anyway, turn this around for a minute. I don't have my sidewalk here. Oh, there it is. It's back. Because these people do like I do. I clean part of the sidewalk. Looks like they have a parking spot here, which it's questionable because this time of year it turns into mud and does this. It damages everything. They may end up getting a knock on the door from the city. It's not a parking spot. What they should do actually is put curbs in there. Curbstones would stop that. All right, head down this way. So a lot of people would say, well, the snow looks awful pretty. Yes, it does. But I'm seeing other parts of the country where they got blossoms coming out and everything is turning green and beautiful. And we still have this. So this was beautiful almost 4 months ago, okay? It's time to leave. It's time for it to go. Well, 2.5 months ago. Well, 1, 2, see, March is almost over. It's 3 months, 4. Yeah, about 4.5 months. It's been cold. It has definitely been the coldest winter I can remember in my lifetime. And we've had some cold stretches when I was younger. We didn't have record snow or anything, but it was cold. And typically when it gets cold here, it keeps all the storms underneath us on the jet stream. And we get the Arctic air. So when it's not cold here, we're either getting rain or snowstorms. And when it is cold, we're not getting bad weather, generally speaking. So I'm gonna have to see if that really busy street over here had the sidewalks cleaned, and if not, if I have room to walk. This time of year, it might be a problem. So I think I should walk up this way. And I say it might be a problem because of all the traffic. It's a very busy street. I can't walk in the street. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang a right. Maybe I'll do that up ahead. Actually, I'll do it here because I don't have that stupid corner. I'll walk down here, see if the sidewalks are clear. If they are, we'll keep going. If not, I'll turn around and come back this way and finish by alternate route, part of which we walked already. So we'll double track. But I want to look at the sidewalk up here and see if it's been cleared. What do you think? Do you think the city did it? I don't think they did, because this much snow was not anticipated. If they did, that'll be great. What do we got up here? What do we have up here? Oh, it's looking good. Looks like they cleaned it. All right, we're in business. Look at that. If it was like this here, I would not be walking on it. They got it. So, did they do the whole thing? That's the next question. Yes, they did. I could see all the way up there. All right, so they went and cleaned the sidewalks. They got a machine with a plow on the front. They come through here and clean this. I was asked that by somebody that watches sometimes from California. He asked me, how do you get that down to the sidewalk like that? Well, we had 6 inches of snow yesterday. 45, 46 degrees today. Which of course, whatever's left behind melts, like it is now. Sun was out earlier. Dark pavement absorbs the sunshine and it melts the snow. Which of course just reminded me of excuse me, remember years ago there was talk about yes it is, it's awesome. So, years ago, there was a proposal, and they tested it out. I think it was in Arizona, New Mexico, someplace like that, where they embedded in the road these lens type things to absorb sunlight. And what the proposal was that they would have these things in the road for, you know, because all the roads in the country, if you could find a way to put solar panels that you can drive on, which would have to be with some sort of glass or very hard covering, then you could generate power all day long, and, you know, people would be able to drive on them. Well, that's an interesting concept, but what do you do in Maine or New England when you have snow and you have to plow it? Excuse me. You would have all of this, you know, these plows run right on the pavement, and you can actually see sparks come from underneath it while it's plowing. And I don't think there's anything they could ever put in the road that wouldn't get destroyed. But if you want to do something like that down south, I don't even know what kind of traction you would get on those if you'd have to slam your brakes on. And you know, but people are thinking. In a perfect world, you would have whatever power you needed all the time, whether it was from coal-fired, oil-fired, hydro, and also solar to supplement. I don't have an issue with that. What I have an issue with is they're trying to mandate it and force people to do it. That I don't like. So, speaking of that and electric cars, talk about Tesla and Elon. Tesla stock is starting to rebound, and a lot of the experts knew that eventually this would be an old news story, and Tesla is leading the world in electric vehicles, battery technology, self-driving, that it's just a matter of time where this kind of like gets shrugged off. And I think investors are starting to realize that. And any of these Democrats that just dump their Tesla stock are morons, because it's going to make a fortune. In fact, right now would be a good time for you to buy Tesla stock. And I'm not giving you investment advice. I'm just trying to tell you that it is something that's going to grow, because it's not like other electric vehicle companies. Vehicle independent autonomy is going to be the future, which is self-driving vehicles, public transportation like buses, cars. That's just the way the future is going to be. And they're going to be electric. So the stock value dropped 45% and it's starting to recover. So that means the price is almost half as what it was a year ago. And if you want to buy Tesla stock, now is probably the time. I think it was $260 a share right now. And to give you an example, there was a guy that works for Tesla. He lives in an apartment, and he got a job at Tesla and was working there since they started, basically. And he bought some stock. And that small amount of money that he invested is now worth $4 million, which presumably is worth $2 million now, because it lost half its value. But he knows that'll recover. And people that sold their stock were angry Democrats selling off their stock to hurt the company. And they're stupid for doing that, quite honestly. So, with that, I guess there's not much more to say about that. They are making headway with the vandals that damaged Teslas on a lot. People are being arrested. So word will get out that you're going to be punished for this. And we've also seen a drop in the incidents happen. The drop came when Attorney General Pam Bondi said, if you're financing these organizations, you're going to be charged with domestic terrorism and you're going to go to jail. So these rich people funding this stuff will end up being charged. And I think they've gotten the message, because there's been a noticeable drop. Now I was going to walk that way, but the sidewalk is gone. See that? They didn't clear the sidewalk up there yet. So we'll head down this way. I gotta cross the street. So we ended up getting a lot less incidents happen to Tesla this weekend, didn't it? We saw some people that did it individually on their own, and then they started seeing the media reports that each Tesla in Sentry mode has about 7 to 8 cameras that records anybody that does anything to the car. And the information is kept inside the car. So once you're recorded doing something, that's it, you're cooked. So I saw one film clip with this fat, disgusting looking guy sticking his hands down his pants on his backside, scraping his crack with his fingers and smearing it on the car. He got caught on video doing that. Full face, everything. So I don't know what kind of crime could be charged with that. He didn't damage the vehicle, but you know, he's rubbing his own friggin' stink on there, for crying out loud. What a disgusting individual. An embarrassment to humanity. So I don't know what happened with him. I'll turn the camera around up ahead here. I don't see any chickens today. There's no chickens. That's where we saw the chickens. Hey, look at this. Look at this mess. Somebody decided to park here, it looks like, and they got stuck. And their solution was to tear up the property to get out. And it looks like they scraped the underside of their car. Looks like they had to dig themselves out. Mud season. Mud season, complicated by stupid people. Anyway, never know what you're going to see on a walk. So I am very happy that it's warm enough to walk. It's actually quite warm today. Everything is melting. That's all. I don't know if you can hear that on camera. Probably not, because I'm yakking, but you can hear everything melting. Water dripping off roofs. Oh. Ducks. I heard ducks are flying overhead. We're getting strafed. Smell a wood stove burning. Very nice to get a reprieve on the heating oil too. I've been putting the thermostat on 52 overnight because we no longer have to worry about pipes freezing because it's not getting that cold. But it is going to be below freezing for the next 2-3 weeks overnight. Around 50 degrees during the day through midway through April anyway. Towards the end of April, start getting warmer temps. Some of you people in the country have 80, 90 degrees. We're not going to see that for a couple months here. The hottest it gets here is 90, 95. Last half of July, most of August. But that goes in spurts also. And a lot of times we don't get as much humidity as you do down south. But sometimes for a week or two, it'll be very muggy. Dew points like you do get down south. So we do get a taste of it. It doesn't stick around long. Most of the time, I don't even run the air conditioner until the end of July and August, which is nice because at night you just open the windows and you get nice fresh air coming in. So we did pick up a bunch of chute cycling jugs. Had a couple of walks, I found some stuff. And we also had one of my brothers, my younger brother, went to an automotive place, and on the way out he looks in the dumpster and there's a bunch of empty coolant jugs, windshield washer jugs. People run out and they stop at an automotive parts place and they buy what they need to refill, and then they throw the empty container in the garbage. One of them was that mixture for diesel fuel. Nice big giant container. All empty, of course. We would not shoot any full jugs of coolant because poisonous to animals. But we just fill them up with water and shoot them, and then we throw them away. Bag them up and throw them out. I think for supper tonight I'm going to cook some pasta, even though that's on my list of things that I do not eat that often, mainly because of gluten. I'm not going to get into the whole celiac disease thing again, but if I start eating a whole bunch of processed white bread and things like that, and pasta, which has a lot of wheat gluten, then I start having issues. But once in a while is okay. I do not eat bread. That's a no-no. Unless it's real homemade bread. And even then, it's not very often. And I replaced pasta with rice. Rice is a good carbohydrate. It's a world staple. Millions of people eat rice. Millions of the thinnest people in the world eat rice. There is a connection there. So basically, I'll run it down again, in case you missed it. I lost 40 pounds just upticking my exercise. But the most important thing was I stopped eating processed foods. Microwave dinners, lasagna trays, things like that. I don't eat anything pre-made that you put in the microwave. Rule number 1. Rule number 2, no soda. I mean, none. It's garbage, it's bad for you. Now, I do like to drink diet soda, and there's another argument there with aspartame and artificial sweetener, but thus far it has not affected me. But most of the time I drink either water or sparkling water, because I do like the fizz, and I get unsweetened flavored sparkling water. Some of the brands are actually pretty good. So I'm not going to preach and tell you what you should do. I could just tell you what worked for me. I started walking and I changed my diet, and I do not starve myself. I eat like I have always eaten. I just changed what I eat, and I lost 40 pounds. So you can either take my word for it or not. That is completely up to you, folks. But I kid you not. That's why I like RFK Jr. with the Make America Healthy Again movement. I'm definitely MAHA. I'm MAGA and I'm MAHA. It was a nice thing to see RFK's voters partner and vote for Trump. Good things are happening. RFK Jr. is already making moves to remove dyes from our food. He's doing a lot of good things the media is not talking about because they're too busy yakking about Trump. And there we go, got a new battery in. Anyway, one of the things RFK is doing is he's also cutting personnel out of the agencies that he's responsible for. So this is all good. It's all going in a great direction. Things are going well, despite the lawsuits and lawfare, which, you know, we knew they were going to do that, you know, because they can't help it. So, if you're familiar with Bill Maher, who is on HBO and has a pretty big platform, and he also gets rebroadcast on CNN, usually late Saturday nights or Sunday nights. He's basically said that the Democratic Party is toast, it's dead. And that was his words, that the Democratic Party's dead. So even better still was former Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy said that Trump broke the Democratic Party. Trump destroyed it because they had to go so over the top because Trump is so popular and powerful. They had to go so over the top to denounce him that they used lawfare, they used all this really, they did things they just should not have done. They said things they shouldn't have said. And obviously the American public didn't buy it. I don't know how you could sit there and still call Trump a Hitler and a Nazi after just losing an election, after calling him an orange Hitler and a Nazi, and anybody that's a Republican's a Nazi, and who's in power, right? So they're doubling down on stupid, they're tripling down on it at this point, and they're gonna lose even more. They're not finished losing yet. They think somehow by going after Trump with the lawfare and bad-mouthing him and obstructing and resisting, that that's going to work for them, when the simple truth is they still have the same policies that cost them to lose. It caused them to lose. They're not doing anything to change it. They're just going after Trump harder. And they're going to implode even more than they have. So that's what's going on with that. So enjoy the show, folks. They literally have not learned their lesson yet. They're hoping they could stick this out, get to midterms, win the House back, and start building up their empire again through the same stuff they've been doing already. And that's not going to happen. They need to change everything they're doing, go through that growing pain of changing the whole messaging of the party. And that's the other thing they do, is they try to blame the messenger, and instead of blaming their policies. So they think they can change their messaging by going after Trump even more, and his associates, and it's not helping them. Since February, they've lost another 2 points. They are now the least popular the Democratic Party has ever been in. That is just astounding. I never thought I would see that in my lifetime. Ever. But they've been doing this for a while, and if you really step back and look at it in chunks, they weren't doing well before Obama. So they had Bill Clinton for 2 terms. Then the Democratic Party went too far left. You know, they were doing it then, and they lost power. They didn't get it back until Obama became president. And the people gave Obama the Congress. Nancy Pelosi then went ahead and gave everybody Obamacare, which, by the way, the next midterms, the Democrats lost power. So, but they re-elected Obama. So, you know, because we had stupid Republicans like Romney and Paul Ryan. So anyway, we've seen the cycle that's happened since then. And, you know, Hillary Clinton, it was her turn. She was supposed to win. And look what's happened because they didn't. They started showing their true colors right away. Sabotaging Trump, Russia collusion, probably cheated in the election. Unconfirmed. They just did not expect President Trump to win that election. And he didn't win by much. This time he won by a lot. So now they are really in ultra panic mode. So I'm gonna go across the street here. Sorry about that. So, we'll be coming up towards the end of the walk up ahead here. So this is the reason why I call it an almost daily walking vlog, because sometimes we'll have a day or two with no uploads. Sometimes I go for a walk and I don't feel like talking. So I just go for a normal walk and I don't upload the video. So I'm not obligated to upload every single walk. This is that pool of water we saw a rat swimming in. Oh, there he is, look. Wow, did you see that? That's the same rat I saw. I'm assuming that's a rat. Kind of a weird looking one. It's like brown with black speckles and it has a black tail. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out on him. He wasn't, looks like he found a little place to live down in that sewer under the road. Very interesting. So anyway, what I was saying is the walk will be coming up to an end up ahead. And hope you've enjoyed it. And I don't upload every walk. Sometimes I just like to walk by myself. Hope you don't mind. But most of the time I share my walks. So, thank you very much for walking with me today. Thank you for walking with J.Beau. Hope you have a beautiful day and a rest of the week. Stay safe and out of trouble. Stay warm. And I want to say hi to my friend Luke in Canada and other people. Say hi to Mark in Arkansas. I want to say hi to V-Man and his lady down south. South Carolina, and a couple of people here locally in Maine who watch. New watchers, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm not going to say your last name on here, but you know who you are. You replied to my last video asking me about looking forward to the next walk, so thank you very much. And I don't use my real name on here either. Not the smartest thing to do, because you see somebody with a MAHA hat or somebody talking about Republican stuff, and then they see you walking and they make you a target. And that could still happen, but I like to minimize those things. And that's just where we are today in a polarized country. So anyway, everybody, thank you very much for walking with me. Hope you enjoyed this one. And again, I don't take a lot of the most scenic routes. We are going to be doing some scenic things when the weather warms up and the leaves come out. You've been with me on woods walks and seen me get ticks, things like that. That's always fun. But we will go on some nice, decent places to visit. And thank you very much for walking with me. There's some cars coming. Anyway, click like and subscribe, share the content, and say a prayer for President Trump and the country. God bless you and your family. And always pray to the Lord, to our Savior, who is saving this country. And we will see you guys soon. Bye-bye, everybody. God bless you. Amen. I'm out of here.